Hey guys, so if you found this video, you most likely are interested in how to figure out how your pond is leaking or if it's leaking. That's what this video is going to be about, is a quick tutorial on what we do to test our ponds. And I'll also do a little bit on the pondless waterfall. So the first thing you're going to do is turn your water feature off. So easy enough, you find out where the pump was, unplug it. All right, as you can see, waterfall is slowing down. What you want to do is you want to make sure the pond is completely off. All the water has worked its way out of the waterfall and streams. And so that the pond, because right now the pond is slowly filling up. All right, so all that water that was up there is now off. So it's going to slowly fill in here, okay? Now the second thing you do, this is going to be like a 36-hour or 48-hour type test. See where my finger is? So in our ponds, we always use skimmers from Aquascape, and they come in with these built-in overflows. So that guy right there needs to be filled now. So we've got the hose running, because right now our pond's a little low. We want to get that water all the way up to that overflow. Leave it off for 24 hours. Okay, so it's first thing in the morning. It's 9:45, and we're gonna go ahead and now sit and wait till tomorrow at 9:45 and measure. So that same guy right there, you're gonna take a tape measure and measure how much water has dropped from the top of that. This is gonna be your starting point down. Day number 2. So while we're doing that, right after measuring that, we're gonna write that measurement down. Then we're gonna go ahead and turn the pond back on. Okay, but here's the trick. When you turn the pond back on, now the water's gonna start pulling from here to fill back up the waterfall and stream. So you're gonna lose a little bit of water on the base of the pond right now. So as soon as the water's running completely full, I'm waiting for that bottom to really catch on. It's got a little movement, but I see it filling over here. It's working its way down. So I'm gonna give it about 10 minutes, let it really fill in. I'm gonna turn the hose back on, because I've probably lost this much water in the bottom of the pond, but that's just because it filled up there, okay? So that's a little trick. You don't want to get tricked by that. So now I'm going to fill it back up to the top of that overflow. I'm going to leave it for 24 hours more. All right, so this is where we're getting to the 48-hour mark. That next day, day number 3, you're going to come out and check and measure that distance. That's going to tell you 2 different things, okay? So if your pond was off and if it held water to the very top of that overflow, that means you do not have a leak in the pond itself or a leak in the skimmer, most likely. Your pond is holding water. It's only leaking if it drops when you turned it on for 24 hours and now the water drops half an inch, 2 inches. Now you got a leak potential, but it's coming from either the plumbing or the waterfall, or it could be coming from the skimmer once you get that pulling action. Sometimes you have a leak in the skimmer. If it's leaking, you want it to leak when it's running. That's a way easier fix. 90+% of the time, it's actually the waterfall. So if you have a leak while it's running, most likely, I got some liner exposed here, most likely what it's gonna be is while the water's running, somewhere at one of the transitions where the water comes out, it's getting over the liner. This happens more often than not. Let me show you a different waterfall. This is a perfect example of a pond that could have a leak, okay? We've got a very low profile design going here. This liner, so this water that comes into this space right here, that liner's only an inch higher over here. So what you have to do is you have to come back here and kind of expose these rocks. The concept is water could be getting over the liner. And what happens over time, people are walking on it, it could settle a little bit. So that's almost always, that liner can drop a little bit, now water's getting over it. There have been times where like a root or something punctures a liner, but like I'm saying, 90% of the time it's that. I still to this day have not found a plumbing leak because we use flexible. So that's a harder one, but that is a possibility. Start with the easy things. You want to start with the waterfall where the water's getting over the liner. That's the more common thing, and it's a very easy fix. It's just you trace the liner from top to bottom where the pond is, and if you find any water getting over it, and I'm telling you, it can just be a small trickle. It finds where the fold happens and it's getting out through the fold. Very simple fix, just lifting the liner, packing dirt in, easy fix. If it's not coming from there, secondary problems are going to be plumbing, right? So this is why you want to use flexible PVC plumbing from this joint, from where the pump is to there. It's one piece of plumbing all the way up. So the only 2 spots it could be leaking from are where it's connected here to the skimmer and where it's connected to the biofall. That's a harder fix because you're gonna have to dig up some areas to really figure out if it is leaking. And the third one is the skimmer. You can dig a hole on both sides of the skimmer to reach your hand through and under to feel if you have any water coming through there. And that has happened every once in a while. And this is why we recommend, if you guys are watching this video, whenever you do a clean out and drain the whole thing, you should just reseal that skimmer just for safety purposes, right? It's a silicone beaded seal, and sometimes a plant root can penetrate in between there, and it's totally fixable and very easy to do, but you have to drain the water. So I would do that usually when you're doing a clean out and be preventative about it. So going back to if it does leak with it off, that's gonna be the hardest fix of all. We don't have these happen too often, but with it off, if it leaks the same amount as while it's running, that means you have a hole somewhere in the pond. Now you're gonna cross your fingers that it's the skimmer that you're losing water from, that seal. Like I said, that's a very easy fix. You might have a penetration from a root into the liner, a tree or something that got in there. So if you can visibly see it, you can fix it. But if it leaks with it off, that's one of your hardest fixes. Finding a hole somewhere in this liner, with or without the rock on top of it, can be virtually impossible sometimes. Here at Earthworks, what we do is we don't go looking for the leak. We just recommend it's time to replace the liner at that point. So let's just rebuild the pond at that point. It's the probably most economical thing to do, because you can spend days upon days looking for a leak. But in a nutshell, that should be how you do your pond leak test at home. With a pondless waterfall, it's a little more difficult. You have to find where this cap is on your vault. That's where your pump is, okay? With that, you can then take a simple broom, right? Here's one of our beat up brooms at the garden center. You can take the broom. You don't have an overflow on this, so you have to do something where you can actually test, drop something like a wooden broom would be better. So you can actually test water's here. So now I know I can make a mark on my broom to go ahead and see if it's dropped anymore. Do the same test. 24 hours out, 24 hours off, 24 hours on, and you can see if there's any differences with those, because that'll tell you the same thing. Do you have anything in the basin leaking, or is it in the waterfall and such? So guys, that in a nutshell is a very easy, quick way of doing your tests. Anything beyond that, please reach out to us. Give us a call, 996-0714, or please give us a call, 904-996-0712, and we can definitely help you out.